Now, why do people take drugs? I'm talking drugs like opioids, heroin, steroids, or cocaine. Because they're very dangerous drugs, aren't they? They could really damage somebody's psychological mind, their physical body, and just their neighbors around them. So why would somebody take this drug? Now, a good way to explain this is look at the drug itself. Now let's use cocaine for an example. Cocaine is a highly addictive drug that is a stimulant, okay, and it has different effects on each person. And usually the experience falls under the same category of euphoria. It's a drug that gives you a special kind of intense pleasure, okay, a rewarding feeling. Have you ever felt that sense of accomplishment before? Well, it gives that to you instantly. One of those things is self-confidence. Some users feel the illusion that they feel really good about themselves, be superior to others. They feel very powerful, right? It really boosts somebody's self-confidence and self-esteem sometimes. So you could imagine people that have low self-esteem might be a little interested in this, right? And also, it makes you more sociable once you take it. Okay, all the anxiety such as shyness and lack of energy when you're at a party, you're afraid to talk to someone, vanishes when you take this drug. So those are some very positive feelings that one takes. And in the moment when you take these drugs, you might not feel like they're bad, because you are on top of the world with cocaine once you take it. But there does come a point where this drug really affects you. It has physical effects on your body. It changes the configuration of your brain and leads to a dangerous and fatal path towards addiction. Now we need to know and understand, listener, that this drug is deadly. And even though it makes you feel good, it will kill you. To better understand imperialism, I'm not changing gears here, but to better understand imperialism as a concept in history and in our world today, it's best to look at it from the point of view of somebody addicted to drugs. Because those same feelings of euphoria and grandiose and superiority in self-confidence is manifested in a national level from imperial nations. England, France, Germany, Italy, the United States, and other Western European industrial powers took drugs. And that drug is imperialism. Imperialism. Well, here's a definition. Imperialism is the domination by a powerful nation of the political, economic, or cultural life of another country. So imagine England taking over India, completely different nation across the world, or Ghana, or Nigeria, and other African colonies. The complete domination, taking complete control over them. Okay? So that is an example of imperialism. Now, why is this like taking a drug? Why is imperialism taking over a country such as a region of the world such as India and have a complete domination over them, elicits all of their raw materials and their natural resources to you, the sole dominant power over that country. It makes you feel pretty powerful to conquer another country and benefit from them by taking their resources. It makes you, as England, feel very powerful. And when you take drugs, like I mentioned earlier, you get that sense of power and superiority. But the body, your physical body, also adjusts to this drug. It adjusts to it and leads to addiction. So what is so addicting about imperialism? What's so addicting about taking over another country? Well, it's the raw materials, baby, and what they do to a modern society. Now, in the background, you've been looking at images of France, actually Paris, through the late 1890s. This is the heyday of imperialism. And I just want you to analyze this footage here with me and take a look at the people walking about their daily lives through Paris. Now, do they look like they're in poverty here? No, probably not. See the clothing that they're wearing as they're turning around and looking at the camera? Now, that clothing was probably spun in textile factories in the city. And where did those raw materials for those textiles come from? French colonies in Africa. The countries that Imperial France dominated over used their raw materials to create pleasurable luxuries for Europeans. Okay? So they are benefiting off of this imperialism and the raw materials like it's nothing. Also, the raw materials that come to France need to be processed into those finished pieces of clothing you saw. Who's gonna do that? How about your working class? The people living in Paris. Okay? Factories that process this imperial products like raw materials and cotton actually give jobs to the working class of Paris. Right? It's like a drug. The more raw materials you have, they will come back to your major cities, and just like how your body adjusts to cocaine and other drugs on the path of addiction, entire nations just get swept into this. And they become dependent on the raw materials. If that cotton from the French colonies is suddenly cut off, what's going to happen to all of the people in the factories? I'll tell you what, they're going to lose their job. Imagine a cocaine addict or a heroin addict who has been helping her body feel this false sense of superiority and pleasure and euphoria. And then all of a sudden you stop cold turkey. You just stop taking the drug. What are you going to experience? Withdrawal, right? So you're not going to feel very good. Once a country becomes imperial and takes over another, it's really hard to undo the euphoria that it created. People will lose their jobs. The French people will get very upset and angry. All these nice inventions, this innovation that France has felt will slow down because it's entirely felt and won off of the backs of people working in French imperial colonies. Your society will experience the same feelings that a drug addict would feel when she feels withdrawal. There might be revolution. There might be unrest. So it is crucial for imperial nations to justify the drug imperialism. Why are we dominating another country? why are we doing this? And how can we convince the people of France that it's okay to completely control another country? And I'm reminded, this is a similar story addicts feel. Many addicts try to justify their drug use. You know, why am I still taking this? Well, I have to. Well, I'm addicted. Well, things are already bad, I can't go back. You know, people try to justify their drug abuse. So, how did France and other Western European countries justify imperialism? How do you justify the crimes in these French colonies? Well, one tool that is used is racism, particularly the concept of social Darwinism. Now, my computer's not working right now, whoopsie. But when I search for the definition of social Darwinism, you will see what this justification is. It's the theory that individual groups and people are subject to the same Darwinian laws of natural selection as plants and animals. So, just as there's this survival of the fittest explanation for survival in nature, we have the same feeling for human beings. The concept of race is what defines this justification. White people, according to social Darwinism, white people are the superior breed of humanity. People of color are naturally inferior and not the fittest. Therefore, this complete domination over a colony's raw materials and exploitation of the people is justified. It's just nature. And racism is what's used to justify this imperial society, just like a drug addiction. So, to recall and refresh what we just learned, a drug addict takes addictive drugs to feel powerful and feel good about herself. Right? To give her that sense of superiority that she might never have felt before. And it feels good, doesn't it? There's that sense of euphoria and grandiose and self-confidence that you never felt before. But then it begins to consume you. And then you get addicted to conquering. You get addicted to taking more drugs. Until you hit that low point. And when you try to withdraw from the drug and quit, you will get those withdrawal feelings, and they don't feel good. Let's translate that to imperialism, okay? So instead of cocaine, it's imperialism. France wants to feel good. And because of the Industrial Revolution and the innovation felt from it, by the late 19th century, they definitely had the ability to try this new drug, imperialism. So with their guns and their military, they go into the continent of Africa, they go into Southeast Asia and East Asia, and completely control the society. Using imperialism, they dominate that area and turn it into colonies. And it makes you feel good. France feels very powerful. They're getting that sense of grandiose and superiority because all these raw materials from Vietnam, North Africa, French North Africa, and satellite colonies in China, well, all those raw materials are going to go straight back into Paris and, just like steroids perhaps, make it bigger, make France more powerful. It's going to give jobs to people in the cities. Factories are going to take advantage of all these raw materials coming from the imperial colonies to give work to your society. France is adjusting to imperialism, and now it's completely dependent on it. France keeps taking over all of these foreign lands in order to feed this desire, this addiction to become more grandiose and special and powerful. Until people in the colonies start rebelling. Oh boy. Okay. French North Africa, French Vietnam, they don't like being controlled. They don't like losing all their natural resources to France. So, France is in a bit of trouble, right? What happens if they quit this drug, imperialism, called Turkey? Well, you're gonna experience some withdrawal. Okay? So, people need to justify, hey, why should we control Vietnam? Why should we control French North Africa? Well, just like how a drug addict tries to defend her usage of a drug, France and its society justifies imperialism with racism. You know, these people of color, these Africans, these Asians, they're not humans. They're subhuman. We are only there to civilize them, right? We're giving them civilization. We're helping these people. And plus, it's just nature. It's social Darwinism. Right? In nature, the strongest defeats the weakest. Okay? And as France, we are strong, so we have to control them. And it's just the natural order of things. It's nature. That's why racism is such a very important tool of social control that comes out of this era. So imperialism. Whenever you need to think of how impactful this idea was, this concept was, think of the process of being addicted to drugs. Okay? Hopefully this little talk helped. If you have any questions, please comment, and hopefully we'll get some more videos out like this. Thanks!